A lot of beekeepers find it hard to get their beekeeping questions answered, so I'm here to help you today, answering your questions from the green chair. Friday, I do this every day, sit down and answer a boatload of questions that you ask me, either on my YouTube channel or left over from my live stream. And this is raw and unedited, so it just makes it easier and faster for me. Hey everybody, David Burns, EAS Certified Master Beekeeper. Good to be with you. Jump right into it today. Lou says, how do you like VSH Queens? A lot of people don't understand what VSH Queens, or the history, I guess, of it. Everybody knows probably their varroa sensitive hygiene. That means they're more apt to detect something's wrong with the brood, and they clean it out. They clean out maybe some pupae that might be infected with mites. I think originally it was chasing after American foul brood, that any kind of larva or the pre-pupae stage that had been affected with American foul brood. I think, was that 1930 in the 30s? But they were pulling out. So anyway, and it's got kind of worked into now where it's VSH. Actually, VSH, as we know it, started in the mid-90s with Dr. Jeff Harris and Dr. John Harbaugh, USDA. And so it became available to, I think, beekeepers around early 2000, 2001 maybe. And so since then, everybody's been trying to work it up, even me, have tried to make it where bees can be a little more VSH, varroa sensitive hygiene, you know. So and is it making progress? I guess you say, how do you like VSH Queens? I feel like we're a long way off from really having a queen that can do all the work for us. I think right now we still need to really go after mites with our treatments, IPM, integrated pest management. I don't really think that we're there yet. I think we're making progress. All right, let's keep going with the questions. A lot of questions today. How many drone colonies and yards do we need, and with what configuration around mating yard with 50 nucs and queen cells in them? Excuse me. Well, I'm going to say, here's the deal. I'm teaching on queen rearing on my live stream. So if you want to watch that, you can watch the live stream last night, a replay of it, and get the biology of raising queens down. I went into 6 steps to raise your own queens, and we're going to keep talking more about it. And I will get more into this. I'm going to dodge this question because that's actually next week's live stream. and so tune in next Thursday night, 7 p.m. for that answer. All right. Hi, David. I live in the U.S. tropics. It doesn't get below 62 Fahrenheit. I assume bees don't cluster. Is there any difference in their physiology throughout the year? No, not really. Winter bees are raised when there's an absence of brood, when there's an absence of nectar. The bees fear that they're going into a season where things aren't plentiful. And so they go into physiological change where they live longer to sustain themselves until things start blooming again. We call it winter physiology, but it can happen in hot weather as well. So it's determined by the bees and not always by the weather. It's the bees' interpretation, how's that, of the weather and available nectar source and brood. Donna, what do you do to the frames to use them again? Are you referring to my queen rearing last night? These were left over from last night. So I think, let me just make an assumption here, Donna, what you're asking. If you make a starter nuc with these 5 frames in them that you pull from other hives and you're done with your starter nuc, what do you do with it? I usually turn that starter nuc into a mating nuc. You got 5 frames in there, and so I'll leave one of the queen cells in there and let that be, an addition to my mating nuc yard. How's that? I saved incomplete honey in a freezer for the upcoming season. Is that a bad idea? That's a great idea. Do it. Use it to help your bees, whether you start with a new package, a split, or nucs or something. Use that honey to spur them on and get them going a little faster. Hey, John, how soon coming out of winter should you treat for mites? As soon as possible. As soon as your treatment allows you to do it. Some treatments are sensitive to temperature. Some treatments are sensitive to whether you should have honey on there or not. So if you can get away with it, as soon as possible. Nathan, how long before wax goes stale if I want to pre-wax my foundation for spring? Hardly ever, never, ever, never, ever. Nah, you can get a block of wax. Going to be lasting forever. I wouldn't worry about it. Hi, New here. Oh, thanks for joining the YouTube channel, New, last night for the live stream. Caught 2 swarms this past summer in South Louisiana. And should I be feeding the bees anything during the winter? So whether you determine how you know whether you should feed your bees is open them up. If you're 65 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer, open them up, look in there and say, oh, they don't have any food. I need to feed them. But if they have honey stores and they have enough to get through your winter, I wouldn't worry about feeding them. All right, Mark, temps here not going to be above 0 for the next 3 days after tomorrow, and lows, wind chills at minus 25. Hives are wrapped, winter bee kinds on. Can they survive in central Wisconsin? Absolutely, I don't know. I have no idea. A lot is working against them. But remember, it's not really the cold weather, it's how many bees are in there and how healthy those bees are. Now, granted, I'm the first to admit, those kind of temperatures lasting for a long time, the cluster can consume all the food that they're eating to stay energized. Let's don't use the word warm, because they need to eat honey so they can energize their muscle to generate the heat to keep the cluster from perishing in really cold weather. So there's a lot going on. The odds are getting worse for our bees the harder this winter is, because they're gonna eat all their food up around where they're clustered. So fingers crossed. We just don't know, Mark. Matt, hi from Utah. I have 2 hives and one set of bees disappeared and one hive still strong. Do you think the hive combined? Do you think the hives combined, or what's your thoughts on it? I wouldn't combine them just yet. I wouldn't disturb things. It's winter for you, it's winter for me. I'm not messing with my bees. In the spring, if they're weak, I could combine them then, but I'm going to let them ride that out for now. By the way, I appreciate it if you would subscribe to this video, my channel here. Appreciate it a bunch. Love to get more subscribers. And that way, it doesn't cost you anything. It's just a way for you to be notified when I make a new video. And that way you'll stay more informed of beekeeping. And I won't be wasting my time making videos that nobody watches. Henry, if I graft only 10 or so larvae, can I leave the grafting frame in the starter nuc? Do they have enough resources to finish those queen cells? Henry, that is an excellent question. I teach queen rearing courses, and when I teach this course, one of the things that I mention is if you're a small-time queen producer, you just need a handful or 10 or less, absolutely, leave them in that starter nuc. Yeah, there's enough in there. Well, if you packed it good at nurse bees, absolutely. I just move them out because I'm trying to make 40 or 60 of them at a time. 10 they can do. Yes. Yeah, that's a good question. Larry, a non-queen rearing question. All right. I have a winter bee kind on my hive since mid-December. Very strong hive, about 1/3 of the candy eaten. How often should I be opening and checking? Temps here in Washington, low 20s at night. You need to check, I would say, weekly, if not, if you want to stretch it out, every 2 weeks, every 14 days, crack it open, see how much candy is left. You might already be empty. How's the queen cell place mounted in the mating nuc? The queen cells are, as I demonstrated last night on my live stream, you graft into a plastic cell. Those plastic cells are placed into a bar. That bar is then placed into a grafting frame. And the cell bar goes into the cell bar frame. That frame goes into the mating nuc. Did I answer that right? Let me read that again. How is the queen cell place mounted in the mating nuc? I did not answer that right. Okay, so after you take them out of the finishing hive, there we go. I'll get it right in a minute. Raw and unedited. So yeah, you pull out your cells. They're capped over. They're 13 days from when the egg was laid or 10 days from the graft. Now you want to place them in a mating nuc. What I do, this is going to be in my live stream coming up, I actually just pull the cell that's in a plastic cup, pull it out of the cell bar, and it has a little rim around the plastic cell. I push that rim into the mating nuc frame, just push it in so it stays there vertically. It works like a charm. Yeah, it's great. Awesome. Good question. I'm glad I figured it out. All right, Paul. Hey, Dave, very interesting. Also, what is bald brood? What does it look like and how to fix it? Happy birthday. Mine is January the 20th as well. Bald brood can be caused from several things. Obviously, one of the things we know causes bald brood, and that, by the way, that's when you can actually see sometimes the open larvae or pupae that's open. It's not really a bald cap. You can see the developing brood exposed to the elements. And what that's caused from a lot of times is wax moth larvae will go down below the surface of the comb and eat through there, and they will damage the developing larvae and pupae, and that will cause the bees to take the cap off to do something about it. That's usually, though, in a pretty straight line. Then the other thing that causes bald brood is usually a infestation of the varroa destructor mite. yeah, that maybe some hygienic behavior is going on in there as well. And no, there's not really anything to do with it. You have to get rid of what's causing it. You have to get rid of wax moths or get rid of, the mites. That's a good question. Should you feed the starter nuc box? This is a queen rearing question for those of you just watching. Do you sell a Burns feeder board for the nucs? No, we don't. Sorry about that. Should you feed the starter nuc box? No, I don't, because remember, if you watched my live stream last night, you can watch the replay. I show you how to set up the starter nuc box. 2 frames of honey, 1 frame of pollen, 1 empty comb frame. So you've got a lot of resources in there for 24 hours. Don't feed it. Yeah, you don't have to. Chase, is it a bad idea to use the deep frame isolation cage with the queen using an undrawn frame, thinking of doing Formic Pro while the queen is caged? Doesn't matter which deep she's in. I don't like to ever cage my queens if I'm treating my hive. And here's why. Because if she is caught, you know how you're treating with vapors, I don't want a big pocket of vapors to be kind of right there suffocating her. Now, I know that doesn't happen, but I mean just overwhelming her. That's a better word. And so I want her to be able to move out of an area where she's getting too many vapors. So I kind of hate to cage her if I'm treating. Yep. All right, moving right along here. Jason, David, and Sherry, what impact does queen rearing have on honey production, if any? Yeah, I think I answered a similar question like this last night during my live stream. But do tune in next Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. I'm going to talk more about this. But yeah, anytime you're going to be raising queens, you're going to have to use bees and frames from production colonies. So you almost need to dedicate some hives for honey production and then dedicate some for queen rearing if you're doing it kind of big time numbers. Ready? Delmer, I'm from Texas, new beekeeper, just got bees a month ago. Wow, really? And haven't opened them up, feeding them your candy board that I made. Oh, okay. My question is, they're about the same amount of nurse bees as bees that forage. Oh, so the nurse bees make up roughly 30 to 50% of the bees. Oh, this all depends on the season. It depends on, definitely depends on the season, right? How much brood's in there, how much they're brooding. So, but generally, let's say in the summer, they're going to have about 30 to 50 percentage of nurse bees, where they're only going to have roughly 25 to 30%, 35% of foragers, if that helps you out. But that can change. That can change on if you lose your queen or if there's a problem in the hive. They're going to raise the amount of bees, foragers or nurse bees they need to do whatever they're doing. But that's some rough estimates. All right. Rusty in Tennessee, have you ever put honey on something and slid it in the front entrance to feed in the winter while it's above 50 degrees? I have noticed the bees are active while above 50 and the sun is shining. No, I don't like to slide that in there for several reasons. If you slide honey on to your bottom board, then the bees may want to fly at that temperature. They're going to drop down. Have you ever noticed how bees will actually just fall to the bottom board on a heavy nectar flow and then they turn over and fly out? They just throw themselves down there. If they do that and they fall into honey, that might mess them up. And it might attract ants, small honey beetle. I don't know. It just doesn't sound like a good idea to me. There's better ways to feed them from the top than the bottom, for sure. Yeah. You don't want your bees down there feeding. It could induce robbing as well. All right, Tom. Hi, David. Thompson Falls, Montana. One of my colonies developed either nosema or some other digestive issue. Fecal matter everywhere on my hive. Any suggestions for treatment this time of the year? Thank you. Tom, I'm going to say I wouldn't worry about it because I think that's pretty common in the wintertime. When you got a warm up day, bees are going to go out and they're going to take a potty flight and they don't care about getting anywhere far away in the wintertime except outside the hive. And so that is very common to see in the wintertime. If you see that in the summertime, it could be Nosema cerani or Nosema apis. Dysentery is what causes it. It's not really the Nosema, but Nosema does cause dysentery, right? Anyway, so right now I would just keep an eye on it, and I'm sure it's because of your bees are cleaning their gut out in the wintertime. All right, what about the cup makes the workers know they should make a queen? Cell size, downward facing orientation, always it's the vertical position of a queen cup. The vertical position, and it's not, the horizontal cells are where they raise all the brood. All the cells are horizontal on a frame. Well, their queen cups, queen cells are this way. And if they see a cup with a larvae in it, they will feed it and take care of it. That's right. That's why we raise queens the way we do it, because we know we can count on them raising them. All right, David, I had one of the winter bee kind boards that I made leak on my bees. Did this cause any problems? The temp was in the low 20s. Yes and no. You made it a little bit too runny. You need to heat it longer to evaporate more moisture out of it so that it's not so runny like that. Does it hurt the bees? Not a strong colony, because remember, bees are eating it. So if it's dripping or leaking and they're not being overwhelmed by it, they can consume it. But if it's a smaller colony or if it leaks too fast, that's why I don't like making them 3 or 4 inches thick like that, because a warm-up could cause a lot of leakage and overwhelm the colony. You don't want to overwhelm the colony. Dave, says Ralph. Ralph from Suwanee, Georgia. What do you think about queen boxes? I've never heard you talk about them. Well, I'll tell you what, Ralph, you haven't listened to me a lot. I have made, I'm going to say, at least 5 videos specifically addressing queen boxes. And I have used them, and I've tried them, and I've experimented with them. 2 decades ago, I was running experiments with it, trying to get more moisture out of my hive. Since I run winter bee kinds, I have no reason to use a quilt box. A quilt box is to get moisture out of the hive. You usually have a box above the hive with something like wood chips, burlap, cloth to absorb moisture in there. I just find the moisture freezes and then it thaws and drips. I can't make it work out right. I apologize for all of you loyal quilt box users that I'm not able to make that work for me. And I really do respect you using your quilt box in a very productive way. I would never say never. But for me, I found a way that works, and I don't need to change my ways because this works really well. If it wasn't working, I might try to make that quilt box work, if that helps you out any. I never claim to know all the answers. None of us do in beekeeping, right? We're surprised every year. We're always learning. And I want to come across as saying I know it all or I am a know-it-all, nor do I ever come across as saying do it my way or the highway. I am a guy that believes you should keep bees the way you want to. You do you and I do me, and whatever you try to do, I'll support you in it. Unless it's just outright going to kill your bees, all right? And I know it's going to. But otherwise, if you want to use a quilt box, go for it, man. Yeah, you use a quilt box. Go out there, make the best one or buy the best one. But I want you to get some data points, okay? Don't just put it on there and walk away and wonder. I want you to write notes about when you put it on. I want you to go check it, see if it's getting rid of moisture. I want you to really know that it's working or not and how your bees do with it. Fair enough? Yeah. I don't fault anybody for trying it. Try anything. Absolutely. Try anything. All right. Gene says, David, what is the best way to treat deformed wing virus after treating for the varroa mite? Yeah, the varroa mite does spread deformed wing virus, also known as DWV. And no, there's no treatment for DWV. It's a virus. We don't treat viruses very well, period, in humans or in bees. Viruses are tough. Bacteria, we can antibiotic it. I made up a new word, antibiotic it. But virus, we can't. It's hard to kill a virus because a virus isn't alive. The best thing to do with deformed wing virus, of course, is make sure that you can cut down on the culprit, and that being the varroa destructor mites that's spreading it. Is that fair enough? Yeah. All right. Man, we're buzzing through these questions really good today. I've got a question here that Brandon sent me. Let me see. Boy, let me get a hold of this question here. This is a long question. It's like a long email, and I want to answer it. It sounds like that a father has a son, Reagan, that is excited about a new honey business, and he's calling it Pollen Pants Honey. Pollen Pants Honey. And I guess that's because the bees carry the pollen on their back legs, so you need pants on your back legs, I guess. He's proud of coming up with this his own. That's pretty cool. Good. I don't ever fault anybody, young or old, for trying to come up with ideas in their own business. Hey, it's a free country. Man, how are you going to ever get ahead in life unless you try stuff? Fail at it, find out why you failed, move forward, do it. That's cool. Good for your son. It has been an expensive endeavor so far for Dad. Well, kids are expensive, right? We have 6 children. Of course, we only have one living at home, our 17-year-old son, Christian. So we raised our 6 children. We have 13 grandchildren. And so I know all about how expensive children are. My son at 17 eats me out of house and home. I'll go out to a nice restaurant every now and again, And I always like, here's my trick. If I go to a steakhouse, which I don't eat a lot of steak, I know, but I do like a steak once in a while, you know. And there's a steakhouse near me, about 6 miles away, called Possum Trot. It's over in Batestown, Illinois. It's close to me. And I'll tell you what, it is the best steak. And I've been to so many steakhouses all across the U.S., even in other countries. But I've never been so satisfied as Possum Trot. It is so good. And it's hard not to go there regularly. It's expensive, though. That's what keeps me from going. But anyway, I order more steak than I can eat because I bring half of it home. And I make 2 more meals out of that. I'll have a little bit for breakfast the next day, may have the rest of it for lunch. And it's not much more expensive. You can make 3 meals out of a steak. I don't eat that big steak eater, but I like to eat a little bit. Why did I even start talking about steaks for anyway? I must be hungry. Let me see if I can regain what we were talking. So what happens is I bring my steak home that I'm going to have the rest of the week, and my 17-year-old son finds it at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I wake up, going to throw an egg in the skillet with my steak. My steak is missing in action. Christian, did you eat my steak? So now on the take-home box, I write on there, do not touch. That's my steak. All right, back to this question. So here's hoping I might be able to extend some advice to that you might be able to extend some advice to a dad. Okay. He's bound and determined to be a YouTuber. A YouTuber. That would be a lot of work for Dad. I suggested to him he might be able to do a channel where he's taking care of his own bees, talking about what he's learning. We're both signed up for an 8-week beginner course here in March. I figured being a young, outgoing boy, he might actually be pretty good at this niche. Niche? What I was hoping to learn from you is if there are any giant pitfalls I need to stay away from, or should I just go for it and see what happens? Oh, I'm a big time person. That doesn't sound right. I have a lot of ideas about YouTube because I've been on YouTube since 2008 for 16 years now. And I admire anyone trying to start a YouTube channel. And you should. I think it's great. There are a lot of pitfalls to it. First, you're going to have to be on... let me just back up. When I started my YouTube channel on beekeeping in 2008, I don't know if there was anybody else doing it. If there was, there wasn't many at all. Now, woo! Wow! There's a beekeeping channel, 5 of them, 100 of them on every corner. Wow, it's crazy, isn't it? Man. But here's the deal. To really get good on YouTube, unless you're Mr. Beast and you can get good in a hurry, and 0 point something percent of people are successful overnight, you're going to have to put a lot of years of grinding away on YouTube to be at a level where you might think it's something. So I think I was on YouTube, I don't remember, I think I was on YouTube about 8 years at least before I got monetized. 8 years, my gosh, grinding away, making videos. YouTube is a thing for me now, but it took me 10 years, 12, 15 years to really, and I was serious about it, making a lot of videos. So you got to be in it for the long haul. Oh my gosh. And you got to grind away at videos. You got to make a video. You got to learn to edit. And to do it seriously, it's a 6-hour a day job. It is for me. I mean, just think about this. I'm here making this video. Yesterday, I made a video and I edited it and I published it. So I worked 6 hours making that video yesterday. And then I was on live stream. I had to work about an hour before I went on the air. I was on the air for an hour. Then I was off the air for an hour, polishing it up and talking to my team and all that. But so you spend 6 hours a day. This video here, it's going to take me a good 3 to 4 hours by the time that I printed this off, talk to you, go and edit it, upload it, make a thumbnail, make a title, build a description. So to answer your question, Brandon, make a decision now to be committed for, I'd say, a minimum of 5 years of 200 videos before you even start thinking, is this going to be something? Yeah, you don't get rich quick or successful on YouTube overnight. It's rare. All right. Okay, another question. Ryan says, was wondering if Vaccinated Queens are worth it or if it's still in trial phase. just got notice from Date Ants that they are selling 3-pound packages of bees with Vaccinated Queens, where Vaccinated Queens are vaccinated for, as far as I know, there's only one vaccine for, and that's for American foul brood. I've kept bees nearly 30 years and I've never had American foul brood. It's bad when you get it. It's highly contagious. You'll have to burn your hives in Illinois if you get them, boxes and all. So you don't want to get it. I understand how important it is. It's not in the trial phase. So it's there. I don't think it's 100%, but it's really good. But anyway, boy, I'll tell you what, it's not that important to me personally because I'm not a commercial beekeeper. They're more prone to wrestle with American foul brood than backyard people are. So if it was more, I don't know if they're charging more money for it. I think they would have to. But it's up to you. That's, again, do what you want to do. If you think that's going to be beneficial for you, I would certainly do it. If you want to try and see how it goes, yeah, I mean, why not? I think it's very noble and very impressive that was done, and we have that, and it hopefully will open up the door to more things. But no, we don't have a vaccine for anything else. No vaccine for varroa mites, no vaccine for small-leaf beetle. The big things that are killing bees, we don't have a vaccine for them, just to be honest with you. The big things that are killing bees, it's up to the beekeeper to help their bees, to know the knowledge, the experience, the skill, and the education to keep your bees alive. So that's my thoughts on it. Hey guys, I'm going to be speaking in North Carolina, South Carolina are coming together for a conference in March, and that's going to be March 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, I think. I'll leave something here on the screen, hopefully. And that way you can join me if you live in that area. It'd be great. Some great speakers are going to be there. We're going to have a good time for several days. I've spoken there a couple of years ago. Enjoyed the people there tremendously. So that'd be fun. So I always like to tell you where I'm going to be speaking next. I got some Zoom meetings coming up too. So yeah. And if you want me to speak at your club in a Zoom meeting, be sure and email this address right here or your state conference or something. I'm only doing so many this year because making videos is taking up so much of my time, and I've got so many other projects going on. Yeah, need to stay put, but be happy to consider it. And also, please consider becoming a member of my YouTube channel. You can become a member of my YouTube channel by being a Nectar novice or a Beak Squad ambassador. And that way, we occasionally will have special live stream meetings with the team, the two different teams, where you can talk more intimately with me about bees, and it's a smaller group. More of a, camaraderie is a little bit tighter and easier than a big live chat on Thursday night. But I'd love for you to join me for my queen rearing course on my live stream every Thursday at 7 p.m. So be sure and check that out. And if you didn't see last night's live stream, it's available for replay, and it's not live, of course, but I want you to watch it. It's all about how to get started raising queens. I'll see you guys over there.